just every day is a battering. I've always tried to do my best for everything I've done, you know, my fire service career and everything else, and mountain rescue and things like that, you know, so helping people in a lot of ways, and to realise that somebody you think the world of is taken in such a horrific, pointless, senseless way, and then having to wake up every day and think about that is very difficult. And then to go to court and hear what's gone on to that endeavour, for that end, it's beyond belief. I mean, it's a much used phrase, but it's just unbelievable. I'll never understand what's happened, because I don't think there is any understanding of it. But I need to know, and I need to try and make some sense. And to be there every day and hear the detail of the planning and the execution of it in every sense, and for why. It's going to court, does it help? Probably it will do eventually. I have to take the opportunity now in the hope that it will help me. At the moment it doesn't. Meeting Sarah Williams was an act of trust in a way, whenever you meet anybody. And I meet a lot of people through everything I do. And so to be in court and to have that read out, to what end I'll never quite understand. But I just felt very exposed, but felt I was part of a process that needed to happen to make sure that the just outcome prevails in this, and that the right people are sent to prison and removed from it, and that will be a sense of justice to some. I don't know what justice is really. Sadie will never come back. But I just feel I had to play a part in that. I was at this chill factor with some friends who were also teaching, and Sarah was one of the students, and I was taken by how driven she was. She'd only recently learned to alpine ski and chose telemarking as another discipline towards her instructor scheme. So the initial attraction was that it wasn't an attraction per se, it was just somebody, wow, she's prepared to do this, and was doing very well at it, and that started the relationship. It was very intense. I was flattered, foolishly so, as it turns out, but she was half my age. Alarm bells should have rung, but I was enjoying the attention. In the first instance, I shall regret this forever. I was unwittingly naive. At the time, I let my guard down. There was a lot going on in life. Sadie had been incredibly busy at work. There's no excuse for sending the text messages back and responding. Sarah knew I was in a relationship with Sadie, and I felt she knew that, or hoped, or never really thought about it, that actually we'd bought a house and I'd moved and whatever. It transpired that didn't happen, or she didn't know at that time. My mum was diagnosed as being terminally ill, and I was asked by my mum, because the other family members were working, whatever, if I would look after my mum. And she was supposed to live till possibly Easter, and she died on the 19th of December, and we nursed her at home until she died. And I was involved in the care of her, and we've never been able to grieve for her death either. I think, as I say, I was flattered, and to get a bit of, there was texting, there was nothing more, there was no meeting, there were no phone calls, there were no dinners, holidays, no plan. And one of the last texts I ever sent to Sarah Williams was she was pleading for many months to meet in the past, and I just said yes I would meet, but don't shout at me. And the reason I'd sent that text was, this has to stop. And that it became apparent to me she didn't know that I'd moved in with Sadie, and that I'd sold my house, and we'd got this big life plan together. So it was a moment of weakness. I was a fool, unwittingly naive. To meet Sarah when I did, this was a young, engaging, yes, driven in terms of skiing, but she was eloquent. She'd ridden horses. She was a skier. She was of that ilk. She was outdoors. You know, I'm surrounded by mountaineers and people, and we rely on each other. And I never got any inkling at all. I never saw any anger, any venom, any crosswords in the short time I knew her. I knew of Katrina Walsh purely from a Facebook picture that's been all over the press when they were in Thailand, and I'd never met her, not talked to her, never even heard her mentioned. So until I'd heard that she'd been arrested, that was the first I knew of Katrina Walsh, other than a photograph. Early on, I probably met Sarah Williams 6 times in that period, totally, maybe 10, but it was insignificant. It was a very short relationship, but in that very short time, I felt that it felt like she was trying to plan my life out. And here was I at 57 and creaking at the seams, and she's young, and I didn't want my life planning out. And so there was a degree of, hang on a minute, I don't want this. And that was all I ever saw, you know. So if there was any obsessiveness, it was this, she was getting more possessive than obsessive. I've spent 8 months now, every day, questioning my motives of why I texted Sarah back. Some people may feel that made me culpable, in that texting Sarah in some way has led to Sarah murdering Sadie. I'm told that this planning of this murder was 17, 18 months ago. And that in that time, I've questioned myself as to, was there anything I should have spotted or could have spotted? And of course, since the inquiries happened, the things have come to light, and we were able to track it back. So things like my alarm going off in my house, and that the keys had been copied or stolen and copied and cut, and my goodness, you know. So I don't feel responsible for any of that. If people feel that in some way I've let them down, that I am responsible by texting, I'm profoundly sorry for that, and I'll regret it forever. And I never for 1 minute believed that the few chuck away ridiculous texts could ever lead to such atrocious events and such unimaginable loss for not just me, I know that, but for Sadie's family, her kids, our friends, my family, the communities. This is so massive, so wide-ranging, that this is not just me. This is, you know, this is massive, and I'm terribly sorry that this has happened. I want to express my horror at what's happened. That I can't understand that what Charlotte and Harry are going through is just immeasurable. I wake every day and think about that, and if in any way they feel that I contributed to this, I've been a fool. I was unwitting. I could never ever have seen that some ridiculous throwaway text would lead to such a savage horror murder of their mother. Their loss must be beyond belief, and so if they feel that I was contributing, I apologise wholeheartedly. I can never ever come to terms with that.